Dare to dream a bigger dream.
All right, welcome. This is my Dare to Dream video series that I'm doing with entrepreneurs and small business owners. And today we have one of my most favorite people in the world, Heidi Wagner. She's going to talk a little bit about her business and how she got started and kind of how she is continuing to grow her business, especially now when things are a little bit more challenging in a different way. But we're just going to talk about kind of where her business has been, where it's evolving, and where she hopes it goes. And I'm going to turn it over to Heidi. Why don't you introduce yourself and maybe just tell a little bit about your why you got started in this, how you got the idea, and kind of where you are in this moment with it.
So my name is Heidi Wagner, and I am the photographer and creator of a very cool project called the Passions Project. And it is a project that highlights the passions and loves of different people, older people specifically, and it's a way of redefining aging. Because I worked in a retirement community for 11 years, and during that time, I got a really great opportunity to meet and enjoy and get to know so many of the residents. And it was just always so baffling to me when I would go out into the world and talk about my job and people's reactions to hearing that I worked in a retirement community and was really negative. And and our culture in general has a real negative relationship with aging. So, I wanted to tell a different story of aging. So the way that I tell stories is by picking up my camera, and that's what I did. And I started my first project in 2011, and then it debuted in May of 2012. And since then, my life has been a bit of a whirlwind that I could have never expected. And it's had its incredible highs and it's had its incredible lows. But right now, and especially right before the pandemic that we are in the midst of, things couldn't have been better. I was just hitting my stride. People were really understanding the need for telling the story about redefining aging and to dispel ageism, because that's really what the project is about, is trying to change the paradigm of aging and our culture's beliefs about aging and to dispel ageism. I just think ageism is something that is so easily, that we do it so easily without even thinking about it. It's such a mindless discrimination that we participate in, whether we put it on ourselves or we do it with other people.
So let me ask you a little bit about that. So why do you think that particular issue is so important to you? Because you're not that old.
Well, one quote that comes to mind so much for me that I heard, and I can't remember who said it, but it was, ageism is really the discrimination of our future self. So if you look at aging as something that other people do, it's not really accurate. I mean, we're all aging every day. And ageism really cuts both ways. It cuts, it can be something that can be aimed at younger people, and it can be something that's aimed at older people. And it really doesn't matter kind of where you are on that aging continuum. At some point, you face ageism. So we do see ageism as something, or aging is something that happens to other people and not necessarily what's happening to ourselves. And we're not always really kind to ourselves about that. And I think a lot of it has to do with our culture and our obsession with beauty and youth. And those are, there's just a lot of different ways to look at it, but you can see it happening on so many levels within our culture.
Well, and I mean, those things that we're obsessed about in our culture, like you were talking about beauty and strength and all that stuff. I mean, that stuff fades at some point. I mean, for all of us, it starts to change. And if we're not able to be kind of present where we are as we're growing older, I'm guessing, well, I know this for a fact because I'm going through it now as I turned 50 this year, is that it's really important to have more compassion for yourself, right? And being able to give yourself kind of that space to change and see what's happening with your body or your mind or whatever is doing it. So do you feel like when you're doing these projects and you're shooting people that are, in this older stage of their life, showing their passions, right? Because that's kind of the idea, is you take photos of them doing whatever they're passionate about. What do you feel like it brings out in them, and then also through your art, through your photos?
I think so much of what I'm doing is giving people a voice. And many people feel as they age that their voice is dismissed, it's not taken seriously, or it's unimportant. And when I turn my interest and my camera and then my storytelling to older people to say, I'm interested because I believe you're interesting, it creates a whole different experience for people. And I think it's time that we start looking at people as people instead of people that are older, people that are in their 50s, people that are millennials, and that we put ourselves in these boxes that are separating us from each other. And I think the reason why this isn't just a portrait series of older people, it's people and their passions, is because I think when you see people doing their passions, you no longer think about the things that separate you or what their age is. You just see them, their passion, and how you can relate to that and how you want to be like that person, emulate them. And that's the thing that I love to see, is when it's really a project about creating connection. And that's a passion of mine. And so I love it that this project has evolved and become that, and given that opportunity to so many people, is that ability to connect and to see people in a different way. And that really gets me excited.
Well, I mean, I think what's cool about your photos is when I look at them, obviously there are some that I have a similar passion, like music, for example. So you have a lot of people on there who are musicians and they're doing different things. But then you have people on there like riding a motorcycle or gardening or things that aren't necessarily my passion, but the emotion that you can see in their faces and how they're interacting with whatever it is they're doing, that's the part that I connect with. Because I think what you're saying is very true. It's like this emotional connection that we then have with the photos, with this person. What do you think it is about us as humans and this is a big question, is why do we feel, I guess, drawn or motivated or inspired to do something we're passionate about? Because, you're a photographer, and I'm guessing way back when, before you started working in other places to make a living, that was one of your passions, right? That was probably, or was a passion. So what drew you to it, and why do you think as humans we're so drawn to doing things like that we're passionate about?
I think we all want to feel a sense of purpose, and we all want to feel alive in the life that we live. So when you are connected to your passion, those things are just naturally something that's going to come out of you, whether it's, you creating music, or other people, doing a certain sport, or having a passion about gardening. It is something that just brings them joy. It gets them connected to themselves, and it helps us continue to grow as people. I mean, when you stop being curious as a person, and when you stop wanting to learn new things, that to me is aging. I think that really personifies what this underlying belief about aging is that we stop living. Whereas people that I'm photographing, they're older, but they're not aging, and they're not discontinuing living. They are living life to the fullest. They're being engaged. They're finding purpose in their life. No matter what stage you are in your life, you are always going to want to search for purpose. And I think that's what the photographs are about. I think that's what this project is about. And that's the direction that I want to see people taking their lives, is this direction of like, let's find our passion and live our passion, because that's the thing that's going to connect us together.
I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are, obviously, right?
That's the coolest part about it. You don't, no matter what age you are, you can find something you're passionate about. As different things may come up for you, and maybe you're not able to do some of the things you used to do, but there's always something that you can do and can be engaged with, no matter where you are, in whatever stage you are in your life. And that's the coolest thing about passion. It doesn't discriminate.
No, that's true. So let me ask you a question then about your own kind of journey. If when you had this idea, you had a job, it sounds like, full-time job, working in an assisted living space, a residential space. How at the time did it feel very brave to like take that and well, I mean, just tell me, I guess, did you just take a leap and say, you know what, I'm quitting this job and I'm going to do this full time because this is my passion and I believe in it? How scary was that if that's sort of what you did? And what do you think like motivated you purely to do that, right? And not stay stuck in a place just to make a paycheck? How'd you do all that?
Well, I think, there is always that fear or that sense of security that you have when you do have a full-time job. And I certainly had a full-time job when I started this project. And, there was a lot of circumstances that were going on in my job in the sense of I was changing, I was needing a change. I created this project, and immediately when I started the project, after doing one or two photo shoots, the first project had over 40 pieces in it, where now I usually do projects that have like 20. So it took me a while to do all of it, but immediately when I saw that first photo, I knew that there was nothing like this out there. I'd been working in that space of working with older adults, trying to find different photographs that really represent what I was seeing and what I was experiencing, the people that I was working with. And I was not, finding those images they're still not out there for masses, for people to be able to work with. So I knew I had something really unique. And even knowing that, I was pretty scared because I didn't know anything about having my own business. And people would ask me, well, are you going to, work on your own? Are you going to do photography? And I was always like, no, I'm okay just having a job. But when this project came into my lap, I just knew that in my mind, I just kept thinking, if I don't do this, somebody else is going to do this. And I need to be the person to do this. And if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And in knowing that, and even knowing that, I took this huge leap of I didn't have anything saved up. I really just quit my job somewhat on a whim and just went for it. And, I did a lot of different things over the years to keep the business going. And, when people weren't really engaging with me about like, what's the importance of this project? I don't really understand it. Whereas now I just start talking about it and people are like, yes, that is so cool. Yes, we want to do this. And I think I was just a little bit ahead of the curve, but it did allow me to learn more about myself and about being a business owner, more so than if I had had immediate success and all these projects. I don't know, maybe I would have gone under because I didn't know how to manage it.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point.
things happen in their own time, but there are times when I certainly sat down and I was like, this has got to start happening. Otherwise, I'm going to need to find a job.
I'm going to starve, right?
Yeah.
So
Who's going to pay the bills?
right. Oh, absolutely. So I'm always curious about, because I think being an entrepreneur in general makes us very creative people. We have to be creative to survive, and we have to, be constantly evolving and seeing what we can do with our products or services. But being an artist and being in a field like you're in, I'm guessing you thought of yourself as an artist. When did you start kind of, and have you, I mean, I guess that's a bigger question. Have you made that transition to, I'm a business owner, not just an artist? And not that it's bad to be an artist, but like, how do you fit those two together? And then what have you had to learn about yourself or work on in yourself to do that?
Oh my gosh. I've had to learn.
That's a little question.
But really, so I think it's only been within the last, so I left my job, my full-time job in 2013. Actually, it's getting close to being, this is in May of 2013, close to the anniversary of that. But
Wow.
it wasn't until probably the last couple years. I mean, certainly the first years that I was doing the business, didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't have any confidence that I could be a business owner. So I was always looking to find somebody to do that part for me. Who could do the sales, who could go find me new customers, who could do all these things. And I trusted people I shouldn't have trusted, and I made a lot of mistakes. And what it came down to is it's my project, it's my vision. I need to own it, and I need to be the leader. And so when I started doing that, as scary as it was, I just things started turning around as far as how I saw myself, how I saw the business. But it really was about believing in myself that I could be that leader, and not just lead photographer, not just the lead creator, but the person that was, that was going out and signing deals and finding new customers, creating new customer base, and even thinking of how would I expand my business and keep working on it. So it's definitely been an evolution of through self. I mean, because how I think about myself and how I see the world in front of me is sort of, my business follows me in that way, because my business is very personal to me. So if I'm not growing as a person, my business isn't growing. If I'm not seeing myself as a leader, my business is not leading itself in any way. So I had to really own it and embrace it. Not that I'm not going to make mistakes, and not that I'm not going to need help, but finding the right people to be aligned with, but being that person that's being the leader was a huge shift. And it was super scary. It was really scary for me to think about being that leader of my business. And because I could, the photography comes pretty naturally, and connecting with people comes pretty naturally to me. But, budgets and finance and, cold calling or, doing certain things was really, really, really challenging and super scary.
Right. Absolutely. What has been your evolution around sales? Because what you're doing is a very vulnerable thing, right? You're doing your art essentially, and then you're trying to find places that will pay you fairly big dollars. I mean, they're not small amounts of money to come in, photograph, do what you do, and provide all that to them. So I'm imagining there's a piece of, I don't know, for me anyway, there'd be a lot of fear coming up around just, oh, this is scary because it's me and it's vulnerable and I'm putting my art out there, but I'm also trying to sell this as a project. And how has that happened for you, and how have you kind of dealt with that and worked through it?
Well, the evolution of sales is, it's that thing of not taking it personally. I mean, like I said, my business is super personal to me. This project is really personal to me. So to hear someone say no is like someone, it's more than just no, I want to do the project. It's like, no, I don't believe in, it's like I had a lot of issues around believing in myself. And that, and so when someone says no or doesn't believe in the project, then it became very personal for me. And I oftentimes avoided follow-up, and I avoided consistency because of that fear of rejection. you know if, you know if someone hasn't said no, you can still in your mind think it might be a yes. But,
I like that. Yeah.
so to just kind of give yourself, remind yourself it's better to know what one way or another than not know for months and spend a lot of time on something. So I'm much more eager to get to that final answer. Like, is it a yes or is it a no? And sometimes you got to go for no, because it's, as they say, it's better to get a fast no than a long yes sometimes.
Yeah.
Because then move on, and that you need to, that don't need to spend any more time there, that you need to just move on and find that next yes, instead of, spending all your time trying to get this one answer that could absolutely be a no.
Yeah, I think we get so hopeful about certain deals, right? And we end up spinning our wheels and trying to get that thing to happen. And sometimes we're doing it by avoiding really finding out what the answer is. And so, and you're right. If we just get that no, then we can let it go and go on and work on the things that are going to be yeses. And sometimes no's are just no for now, and they come back later and they are yeses. But if we spend all of our time hoping and hoping and hoping and not really getting answers, it's just kind of wasted. So that's cool. For you during this time, because we are kind of right smack in the middle of this pandemic of COVID-19, and obviously the clientele that you work with is very affected by it. So what's sort of been your approach during this time with your own business and with yourself? And then where do you see, or can you see where it might be evolving to in the near future, in the long term future?
Well, I think for me personally, it's been challenging to just let it go. I mean, I know that I'm not going to be able to meet with people one-on-one, and I'm not sure when that will happen and when people will start feeling safe to do so. So for me, I've just tried to find my focus and storytelling in other ways. I mean, I have a lot of content from previous projects, so I look and I just think, well, what are things that I have not been able to do because I have been too busy or things have been kind of crazy? How can I bring so much of this content that I have together to create, some other, whether it be like a small interview podcast type of situation, or can I use the content to spread the message that I'm continuing to talk about, which is ageism. And we've been hearing a ton of ageism in regards to the pandemic around the expendability of older people, the worthlessness and uselessness of older people and even just like, well, maybe we'll be weeding out this large portion of our population. Maybe that's just a natural thing. And all of those ideas are incredibly ageist. I mean, would we be talking about this in the same way if we were talking about this virus being and affecting younger people, under the ages of 10? Would we be talking about it as this natural progression or this circle of life? I mean, I don't think people would be thinking about it in the same way. We do not value older people and their lives in the same way that we value other people and their lives, and that has become very evident during this process. So for me, I'm just trying to find different ways to get that message of we need to stop looking at this pandemic as something that separates us one more time around this idea of age. How can we, why are we putting a value on someone's life based on age?
Right. To me, yeah, I mean, because to me, this pandemic is obviously showing us that we're all really connected, right? Like what's happening to one group is happening to all groups, because younger people are getting it. It's just not as in big as percentages as the older population. And it's not about kind of who should be dying off and who should be alive, but it's like, well, how do we help take care of everybody in this time? Because it is, I mean, it's global, obviously, like it's affecting everybody. It's not just one group. So, how do you, when times are hard like this, what's your motivation? Like what keeps you going? What makes it, I don't know, why haven't you at this point said, screw this, I'm just going to go get a job? I mean, there's plenty of delivery jobs out there, right? There's plenty of, there are industries hiring right now, even though we have so many people out of work. So what keeps you kind of going when it is really hard? Because it is hard being a business owner, entrepreneur when times are good, right? And this is especially hard. So for you, kind of what's your motivation?
I mean, as I look at the arc of my business and from its beginning to where I am now, I have experienced a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And where I am right now, I feel like I see hope on the other side. I know that that people aren't going to stop wanting to tell this story on the other side of things. So I just, remind myself of that. And I've had other times when I've had less belief in myself and my ability to be the steward of this project, of this message. And I've had, some times that have been really, really low. And and I am not at that place right now where feel like I'm at my lowest point in my business. It certainly is difficult that I'm at a standstill, but I know that once things start opening up and once people start coming back to wanting to physically connect with people and be able to be close to each other, that we'll be able to get back on the project. And in the meantime, just continue to try to, you know, have this message about, you know, hope and connection and the need to understand and understand one another. And I don't know, I think something really great can come from this, and something for me that I'm really looking forward to is the opportunity to maybe do some sort of national campaign around ageism and how our issues around ageism come up in different ways and come up during times of great, you know, illness and uncertainty within our culture and in our world.
Well, I also wonder too if because so many people are losing older people right now in their lives, that there will be more compassion as a result, right? Or there will be this hole that's left because it's happened so fast. And there's so many of us losing people in that age group, or we know somebody who is. So I don't know, maybe that will help shift some mindsets around it a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Time will tell. I think we've had, you know, there's been so much talk about ageism. There's been a lot of opportunity. I think we are, you know, hopefully we will come out of this with a little bit more compassion and understanding that life is precious no matter whose life it is.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that one of my clients yesterday was telling me that one of his employees, his dad just passed away. He was 95, not from COVID directly, but indirectly. So he had other health problems and he couldn't get treatment for those because of, and he's in New York. So yeah, so it's, I think we're going to see that too, right? There's like this second wave of people that are going to be affected that may not die directly from it, but as a result of it. So that's really hard. So if there are any entrepreneurs out there watching this and artists or artists, what would be, if you could come up with like one thing of a nugget of advice, what would that be to them around if they're thinking about doing something like this? They have an idea, they're scared. What would you say to that person?
Believe in yourself. Believe that you can be the person that is meant to tell the story that you want to tell, or bring a product, whatever it is that you're trying to do in your business, and to believe in what you're doing. Because as I always say, like, the project has broken my heart so many times, but I have to turn around, you know, I have to pick myself up after every time that it's broken my heart and continue to love it. And I always, you know, I look at it and there's so many times I wanted to walk away from it, but I knew its value sometimes more than other people knew its value. And you just have to be the one that believes the most in what you're doing, because sometimes the people in your life or the people that you're trying to connect with aren't going to see the value, and you need to just continue to believe in that and show the world and shine the light on what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so true. When you were talking earlier about the challenges that you've had in your business before this, right, the low points, it almost sounded like those low points have prepared you for where we are now. Because I wonder, would you still have this motivation, inspiration, you know, kind of attitude about your business if you hadn't already gone through those hard times? What would you say to that?
They have absolutely prepared me for right now. I mean, I think I've always had such a belief in this project that when it has been hard, I have been able to just kind of ride it out and find ways to continue to do the project, even though it seemed like there were times when nobody was listening to what I had to say. But I just think that, like everyone talks about, your lowest times it helps you prepare for, and get you ready for the highs, because no matter where you are on that wave, whether you're on the low part of the wave or on a high part of the wave, there are things that you always need to do to continue to keep moving and to grow. And, like this time, it's like, no, I'm not able to take pictures, but maybe there's a editing program that I've been wanting to learn, or maybe there's, maybe I'm going to, instead of doing people photos, I'm going to reconnect with, abstract photography or other type, work on different techniques around lighting. I mean, there are other things we can do to prepare ourselves for when we do come out of this. And you just have to really dig deep sometimes to keep going. And you have to be the one that believes. You're the one that's got to be there to say, I believe in what I'm doing no matter what, and keep going. Because it is easy to walk away from things you don't believe in. But if it's something you believe in wholeheartedly, you will continue to find ways to move forward and find your next level and move out of your comfort zone and get to that next place that you need to go in your business. Because you're never going to stay in the same place. No. You're always in this evolution of, who am I? What is my business? What more could I do? What other things need to be done? What am I not doing? What am I doing too much of? How am I spending my time? There's so many opportunities to grow, and as a person and in your business all the time, from being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that is very well said. Very true. Well, I think that's all that I have question-wise. Why don't you tell people how they can find you, see the work that you do, that sort of thing?
I love when people connect with me on Instagram. So I have 2 different Instagram accounts, but for my project, the Passions Project, it's just the Passions Project. And you can also just see some of my general photography on HWAGS, WAGS photo. But my website for the Passions Project is thepassionsproject.com. And, there's a lot of great images and some great stories find yourself in those photos and see, connect with people. Always just create connection in your life. I think that's whatever way you feel comfortable doing. I think that's important, is to be connected together as people.
It sounds like it's the overarching theme of everything you do. So.
Most definitely.
I would agree. Well, thank you for participating in my series. You're a great embodiment of what I talk about when I talk about Dare to Dream. I think people right now, especially, but always, we want to follow our hearts in a lot of ways, and sometimes we're just too afraid to do that. And right now, it's kind of like, well, life is short, and we've seen the fragility of all of that in many ways. So if you're not going to do it now, when? So you might as well try. So I appreciate you sharing your story, because I hope it motivates people to try something. So.
One thing I always say, or one thing I've started saying when I started my business was, there is no net in life. Right. So you just have to jump and believe that your wings will appear.
I like that. Thank you, Heidi. That's a wonderful way to close. So have a great rest of your day.
It's always great to talk to you.
Yes, good. Stay warm.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
So dare to love, dare to laugh, take a stand, say yes to your path, dare to shine, dare to fly, make a scene, dare to dream a bigger dream.